Hello and welcome to the INDX webinar series. I'm Karen Allman, Director of Fashion and Toys at AIS. For those of you who are new to AIS, we are associated independent stores and we're the leading independent buying group for home and fashion in the UK and Ireland. We have a buying throughput of around £500 million from more than 300 retail store members, including department stores, garden centres, specialist stores, which include sports stores. We work exclusively with independents, which can range from single stores to regional chains with a combined retail turnover of over £2 billion. We have around 130 staff in specialist buying and support functions, and we're centrally located in the Midlands at Cranmore Park, where our head office doubles as an impressive conference and exhibition centre, which would normally be buzzing with industry shows at this time of year. In the absence of the live shows, we wanted to ensure that we continue to engage with our store members to provide relevant and useful information in the run-up to retail reopening in April and May. So we're delighted to be introducing a series of live industry-focused webinars aimed at independent retail businesses. We have an exciting group of expert speakers covering topics from social media skills to customer engagement. There'll be no corporate jargon, just interesting content that we hope you'll find useful. I'd like to thank all of our speakers for giving up their time to do these sessions. And if you want to ask any questions, if you use the chat icon at the top of your screen, it's a little speech bubble with a question mark in it. We've had a number of sessions on social media, and I'd now like to introduce Helen Masters, who's going to talk to us about some techniques we can use in face-to-face retailing when we get back to trading in the next few weeks. Helen is a retail consultant and trainer, and she's the founder of Pudding Retail Fashion and Lingerie Consultancy. She's going to talk to us on how to deliver the wow factor in face-to-face fashion retailing. Helen is a business management consultant and lecturer on the International Fashion Business degree course at Coventry University. And she's also been a guest speaker for London College of Fashion. Helen has worked with several AIS members and has also been involved in some of our training programmes. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Helen.
Thank you, Karen, and welcome everybody. I'm just going to share my slides with you. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much, Karen. As Karen said, I am a retail consultant and trainer, and I specialise in fashion and lingerie. And I'm going to talk to you today about an area that I spend quite a lot of time working on with my clients, some of whom are AIS members, and that's how face-to-face stores can really deliver a customer experience with the wow factor, and specifically use that as a tool to get customers back in when we reopen, and to deliver superior satisfaction and superior sales as a result. And obviously right now everybody's gearing up for stores reopening. I'm sure everybody can't wait. And of course, if the challenge pre-COVID for, you know, how face-to-face businesses compete wasn't already hard enough, it's now kind of ramped up another level with the shift to online in the last year. So my aim today is to share with you some of the tried and tested techniques, the things that I know work to get people into store, and importantly, when they're in store, to get them to stay, to get them to buy, to get them to want to come back in again, and to tell other people about their experience. And I'm hoping that there'll be some tips you can maybe take away, but ideally, hopefully, to just inspire you to think about, are there areas that you can improve in when you reopen the doors? Just to explain why I've been asked to talk about this today, I've been in retail for 25 years. I spent the first 10 years of my career in a corporate environment, running sort of different large divisions of a fairly large retail business. That really helped me to understand the challenges in bigger businesses, and start to think about how to overcome those. And I then spent 8 years setting up and establishing my own independent fashion and lingerie retailer, Pudding. And we were, you know, Pudding as a retailer was very successful. Certainly our sales and profits were significantly above some of our peers and even some of the bigger stores that we were sort of alongside. And I think the reason for that was we adopted a model which tried to take the best of big business. So, for example, establishing and training in a professional sales and service model, and put that together with the best of independence. So with the tailored focus, the one-to-one service and the attention to detail that independents are so good at. And that was a successful model for us. So I think that has helped me to kind of understand a formula that I've then been able to help train other independent stores on, and that's what I now do. And I work with retailers all over the world, training this sort of model in. Okay, so on to the agenda. So we're going to start by looking at the theory versus the reality when it comes to the sales and service model. I doubt that anybody, watching this webinar today is not already fairly expert in knowing what a sales and service model, a superior sales and service model in fashion or lingerie retail should look like. But despite that, most of the stores that I see are not delivering on it. And I'm sure as customers of stores, which we all are, that will probably feel familiar to you. So for me, the question is about how do we turn the theory into reality? I'm going to talk you through how I approach this problem when I'm working with fashion and lingerie stores and department stores. I'm going to outline what I believe a superior sales and service model looks like. So what is it that the stores who are performing the best are actually doing with their customers? And I'm going to look at the techniques that I've found useful to get people, i.e. your teams, to actually deliver on that model in practice. And that model is what I call the wow factor. I will also finish by touching on some ideas for how you might be able to implement this in your business if you feel there's room for improvement, and some real life examples of what the size of the prize might be in terms of improvement of results. And of course, I'll touch upon any help that is available should anybody need it after today. Okay, so moving straight in then. Anyone who runs a bricks and mortar fashion or lingerie business or department store with those categories knows that the likelihood of a customer purchasing when they're in store is highly variable. And it's particularly heavily influenced by their in-store experience. So of course, part of that is the products on offer, the layout, the sales queues, and a big part of it is the service. And service is, in my experience, tends to be an area that is a little bit more tricky to consistently get right. It tends to operate on two levels. So first of all, we have the process, so how convenient is it to get into the store, to find the products you want, to get the information you need, to buy the products, to return them if you need to. And then the next level is the experience. Is it welcoming? Is it friendly? Do the people I interact with add value to me beyond what I would get if I was to serve myself or if I was to shop online? Is it memorable? Is it even a treat? Is it a delight for me to be in store? Does it give me the wow factor? Now, most stores who are still around these days, I tend to find, are pretty good at the process, but it's the experience bit that is often the bit that is lacking. And actually, I often find when I go in and look at businesses that is the single biggest lever they have to elevate their sales, and really to build a business for the long term. So a business that people want to go to because they get more from going to that business than they do from shopping online. How do I know that? Well, businesses that I've been involved in researching and working with, and also other independent studies, have shown that on average, the conversion rate from a customer walking into a department or into a store, fashion or lingerie store, to buying is 19%. That's the average conversion. I know from work with my clients and from working with this model in my own store that you can actually increase that to 45%. So obviously that's a material difference. Now, obviously, one thing to say is, you know, I'm not saying that you can talk to every single customer and give a one-to-one service to every single customer, particularly if you're in a bigger store. But I think for me, the key point is I've yet to find a store who can't make improvements, and actually improvements that have a material difference to the bottom line. The thing is, it's not rocket science. You know, generally I tend to find, I'm sure what I'm going to take you through is, you know, you will be familiar with it. You and your teams pretty much know what we should be doing. It's just we don't always do it well enough or consistently enough. So that's why my focus is around moving from theory to reality and actually putting things into practice. So when I tend to start working with a store, I work on how do we actually deliver the wow factor. And that for me is a model which aims to delight customers at each interaction. And importantly, to ensure that service leads to sales. So service isn't just an end in itself. And ultimately is about giving people a reason to come to you rather than go elsewhere, and rather than shopping online, by adding additional value. I mean, I'd be really interested to hear how you all think, you know, your businesses are doing on this. Certainly, I do, as I say, tend to find that even stores who pride themselves in delivering very good customer service, when you go in and really look at it and take it apart, it's often not as good as you think in reality. And importantly, it's not as good as the customers would like it to be. So the question, of course, the starting question is, why is that? A lot of the reasons that, you know, when I ask people, you know, what do you think stops you from wowing customers? These are some of the kind of common reasons sales teams tend to give. And really they're related to maybe lack of knowledge and expertise, fear of rejection, fear of being perceived as pushy. Those are the kind of the common factors. I'm not going to dwell on these, but these are all the things that we deal with when we're training. And if there are some things there that ring a bell, that seem familiar to you, then hopefully there might be some things you can start to take away and ask questions of the sales team next time those things come up. So the point is, if these are some of the reasons why we don't move from the theory into reality, how do we overcome them? Well, what I find is the first step in achieving the wow factor is to make sure that everybody knows what it looks like. What is a superior sales and service model? So how do we want to interact with customers? The second step is then to give people the opportunity to understand and explore and practice the techniques that work, the techniques that embed the model. I usually, when I'm working with clients, I usually start with a desk-based analysis to understand baseline performance, and to understand gaps versus what I know to be best in class. And what I do is I'll start with the kind of looking at the MI and establishing the hypothesis, what I think might be going on, and then I will back that up with on the ground observation to build a complete picture of what the current sales and service model is, how is it actually being executed. I'd also support that with customer and staff interviews, competitor analysis and mystery shopping, and a review of the management practices. And that gives me a really good understanding of where the opportunities lie and the potential size of the prize, and of course the action plan needed. And I usually then go on to implement a program which may be across a number of things, including sort of products and you know, looking at management practices, etc. But usually a large element of it is staff training on the sales and service model. And I start that process by getting the people who are doing the job, the people who are actually delivering the sales and service model on the ground, to define the model that they want to follow. So we start off by thinking about things like occasions when they've delighted a customer, occasions when a customer's come in and they've engaged, but maybe they've not had a sale, their biggest successes with customers, their biggest sales with customers, when they've received the most positive feedback from customers. And we get them to look at what did they do, what was their behaviour, and how did the outcome differ. How did both the behaviour and the outcome differ in each scenario? I also get them to think about their experiences as customers of other stores and to describe a poor, an average and a great customer service experience they had in a retail store, and to think about what made the difference between those experiences and how the outcome differed. And interestingly, nobody can ever remember an average experience. They can only ever remember poor or great, which I think says a lot in itself. The reason I use this approach is because I find if you ask the right questions, people usually make the right conclusions themselves. They will do the job for you, which makes acceptance of what you're trying to train in a lot easier. And most commonly, I find that what people determine for themselves is that the key behaviours that underpin both our best experiences as customers and our biggest sales as salespeople are these 4 factors here. Making a connection, so really getting to know that customer and engaging them, going the extra mile, so really being proactive in meeting their needs and going beyond their needs, being an expert and using that expertise to wow them with something they didn't expect, or something they wouldn't have found if they'd operated on their own or online. And finally, building a relationship where they're going to come back. So this is not a one-off sale, this is an ongoing relationship. That is the fundamental basis of the sales and service model. And as I say, normally people kind of come to that conclusion themselves. And I usually find at this point in training, people are really quite fired up and ready to go. They've been talking about, you know, really bad service, really good service, and they're ready. They want to deliver the wow factor. So what I tend to do at this point is share with them the results of when I've conducted similar exercises with customers and what customers have said about their view between their view of what good, average and the wow factor really is. This is the kind of slide I share. So for example, average service, and this is based on what real life customers have told us. Average service is what I expect. So you get me the product in the size I ask for. If it's a lingerie store, you maybe do a bra fitting on me. So that's fine. That's what I expect when I come in. Good service is what I hope for. You get me the product I ask for in the size I ask for, and maybe you get me a few other choices as well. Maybe you work a little bit harder. Maybe you find things that are not immediately apparent to me. And, you know, if you're doing a bra fitting on me, you maybe find me 2 or 3 things that I love and buy. So you do what I ask well. That's what I'm hoping for. What wows me is great service, and this is the unexpected. So this is, you know, you go beyond my expectations, you add value that I can't get elsewhere, I can't get if I shop on my own, and I can't get if I shop online. So for example, you show me what suits me when I ask, or you even show me what suits me when I didn't even know that I was looking. Or you identify, for example, in a lingerie store that I might be wearing an ill-fitting bra, even when I didn't know that that was a problem. You transform the way I look. You use your expertise to find product selection that transforms the way I look and feel. You find me lots of things I want to buy, whether it's now or tomorrow, including things I never even would have looked at myself. So you are adding value to me. The end result is I won't shop anywhere else, and I will tell everyone I know. So you have done what I needed, even if I didn't know I needed it. You've gone the extra mile and you've made it an experience to remember. And of course, where we want to be, the box we want to be in, and the sales and service model is all about this, is the box on the right hand side. And the really good thing is when we've gone through a training approach like this, what people can see is all that is an articulation of what they've already said. A, they should be doing because they can, and B, they want to be doing. So we then basically, you know, go on to look at the actual sales and service model that sits beneath this. And I think one of the things that's important at this stage is a realization that we need to be in the right hand box. A lot of businesses think that it's good enough to be in the left-hand box or the middle box. What this is showing us is that isn't good enough for customers. If you really want to have the wow factor and develop those long-term relationships, you've got to be striving to be in the right-hand box over here. So we then go on to look at the sales and service model itself that incorporates all of this. And this slide is one that I use to train people on my signature sales. A proactively, individually tailored sales and service approach in 4 stages with the goal of delivering the wow factor. The 4 stages are based on the key behaviours that time and time again I see the best performing fashion and lingerie stores delivering on. So to start with, you need to engage the customer in a compelling way. You need to draw the customer in, give them a reason to want to stay. You then need to proactively identify and meet the customer's particular needs and wants today. They may not have come in with a particular intention of buying. Your job is to get in, to engage them, to find out more about them and to find something that they love. You then need to wow the customer and broaden their horizons. And that is very much related to the specific level of warmth and empathy and customer centricity and expertise of the salesperson. And it really does kind of require a personal shopping type approach. The final area is to build an ongoing relationship and establish and meet future needs. So this is about not stopping when the sale happens, but recognizing that there are future opportunities, building a relationship, recording what you know about the customer and using that for mutual benefit. So for example, you can let them know when there's going to be something in the sale in their size. Equally, you gain their permission to contact them when new lines come in, for example. And that makes the customer feel like a VIP. So all of that is really about getting to the point where you do deliver superior service, superior sales and superior satisfaction, which is going to lead to long-term success. So it's the 4 S's of success. But you're doing that by getting the customer to a point where they want to buy rather than pushing them to buy. You do need some fundamental factors in place, the 4 Ps. Within the business. So obviously we need the right products, we need the right processes, we need the right people, and we need the right priority. We need to be able to focus on customers in this way. But as I've said, you know, you're probably looking at this thinking it's not rocket science. It's a simple common sense model. But despite that, many retailers are still not doing it or doing it well enough. And so the next stage of my training is really focused then in, okay, how do I actually get people to deliver this? How do I get people to deliver the wow factor? This is the sort of model that I ask people to remember and practice. One of the things about this is that the specific mnemonic can be tailored to your business. So if you have a particular slogan that is memorable for people, we can tailor it to that. The first stage, the wow, tends to be what happens within the main store on the shop floor. And then the second stage tends to be in the fitting room, around the fitting room area. And then the last step, it tends to be at the till. You know, what are the steps? Well, first of all, welcome. We give everyone a big smile. We say hello warmly, as if we were welcoming them into our home. Then we offer help. Now this could be, you know, hi, how are you? Have you shopped with us before? Because if they have, then you may well want to direct them towards things they're familiar with, things that they like. If they haven't, this could be your opportunity to queue the services and to immediately get them to take you up on it. So for example, in a lingerie store, this could be talking about your bra fitting service in a compelling way, and the customer may automatically say, yes, I'd like that. In a fashion store, this could be talking about a style consultation, for example. So offering help is really, really important. At the same time, you then need to, you know, take a step back, Your aim is to widen the conversation, but at the same time, you need to watch and wait. Often people will need space at this point, because in the same way that you as a salesperson is worried about being pushy and looking like a pushy salesperson, the customer's probably worried that you are a pushy salesperson. So you need to show them that you're not. You need to give them space. Be very friendly and human. Be the opposite of a salesperson. Leave them to browse. But then you are looking for the watching and waiting is all about looking for the cues, the opportunities to widen that conversation. This could be talking about, seeing them looking at a product and just commenting on it, telling them some information about it, finding their size. It could even be small talk. The key here is most people you may need to go back to them 2, 3, 4 times before you open them up and are able to engage them. But actually, once you do that and they see that you're not being pushy, you're giving them space and you're on their agenda, they will open up to you. And if they're still there in the department, that's because there is something they're interested in. Your job is to find a way to open them up and get them to articulate it. The aim of this stage, once you've done that, is to then get to the point where you can get them into the fitting room. So, this will probably be they're looking at a product, they're interested in it. You can offer to pop it in the fitting room for them to save them having to hold it. And then you move into really wanting to assist the selection. So this is where it's a personal shopper type approach. Now, that doesn't actually mean we have to be with a customer for 2 hours, because actually it's more about being in and out and being attentive. Basically, this is where you need to use your expertise, because you want to get 1 or 2 safe items that are going to wow that customer, and then you will have got them hooked. You will have gained their confidence. That then allows you to cross-sell, to queue other matching or similar products, to queue other categories, to bring in your sale items, your last chance to buy items, your offers of the week, etc., etc. And what you do is, a good salesperson will explain the features and benefits and link the products for logic. And what's really important alongside cross-selling is trial, tailor and take away. In order to not bombard people, you need to give things a go, but you also need to recognise where it doesn't work, take it away, tailor what you're showing them based on the feedback they're giving you, so that you're narrowing down more to the things that they like, and not pushing every item. Finally, it's about owning the sale. So this is about closing the sale, getting items on people, getting their opinions, reiterating the benefits, overcoming any challenges, identifying a short list, and ultimately maybe recommending the best purchases and asking for the business. The final stage of the relationship is really often at the till, and it's where you cement the relationship building that has been going on through the process. So this is where, you're starting to say, well, look, let's record your details. Let's treat you as a VIP customer. Let's make sure that we've agreed what you like and when you want us to contact you again and what we're going to let you know about. And importantly, that customer should leave where you have agreed what the next contact will be, and you have that permission to contact. The end result is the customer goes away feeling wowed and they have had a bigger sale than they would have done. So this is sort of, as I say, it's pretty common sense. One of the powerful tools in getting people to actually deliver on this model is to ask them how they think they're currently doing against it. And to explain, look, if there are gaps, that's fine, because that's what we're here for, to improve on those gaps. And I have normally, when I'm working with clients on this, I've already done my on the ground observation of how it's being delivered. So I already know how well each stage is being executed. And I usually find that there's a significant gap between people's perception of how well they're doing versus the reality of what I've observed. And again, I'm not expecting you can do every step of this 100% with every single customer. That's not realistic. So what we do is we talk about, well, what is realistic for you in the context of your business and all the pressures you're under? What is a good level that we could hit? So we go back over the model. We look at welcoming. So I say to people, well, what is realistic in terms of how many people coming into your store or department should you be able to welcome? And often they might say maybe 75%. What I've often then share with people is what I've often observed is the reality is more like 20%. So there's a big gap that people are often surprised to hear between what they think they ought to be able to do and what they are doing. The same with offering help. People tend to say we ought to be able to offer, initial help to, 9 out of 10 people we say hello to. Well, the reality is usually it's less than half of that. When we get on to widening the conversation, we talk, how many times do you go back to a customer? Most people will go back once and then will stop if they don't get an engagement at that point. We talk about getting people into the fitting room. Most salespeople know that trying equals buying, and they're familiar with that. But they still forget simple things like offering to pop something in the fitting room for somebody. And they're less inclined to adopt a personal shopping type approach because they feel it might be too pushy, the customer might not want it. I've got other customers I need to deal with and I haven't got time. Well, actually, there are ways of doing that where you can juggle multiple customers and still stay close enough to deliver that service where you can assist the selection and you can cross-sell. And then we talk about trialing, tailoring, taking away. If you take a lingerie store, a lot of people will take in maybe 2 or 3 bras to show a customer. Well, most customers, once they've had a fitting and they know they're in the wrong size, they may have a need for an everyday bra in a couple of colours, a strapless bra, a sports bra, a pretty bra. There could be 5 options there and they probably want to look at 3 for each. So really, we ought to be taking in more like 15 items. A lot of people don't necessarily see that. Finally, you need to own the sale, and we talk about, do people actually do that? Do they ask for the business? And do they build the relationship, or do they stop when they've got a sale at the till? Do they queue the next opportunity with the customer? So this is actually quite a powerful model. There's lots that sits underneath each step, obviously, and that's what we work on. But what's really powerful is when you present people with their perception of what they ought to be doing and can do given their constraints versus the reality, then there's absolutely no argument. Everybody can see there's room for improvement. So what we then do is look at techniques to actually improve on each step of the model. And what I do there is I start off by, we do role playing. I am the salesperson. So I role play first of all, how not to deliver the model, how not to deliver this customer sales and service experience. And I have one of my trainees as a customer, and I get the rest of the group to feedback to me on what I didn't do very well. And I usually use scenarios that I've seen in store. I then demonstrate the right way to do it, and again get feedback, and obviously people can really see the difference and also see how it's not that difficult to make those adjustments. And then we move on to trainees role playing with each other. Everybody gets the opportunity to be the customer or the salesperson and to share feedback. And what I can say is, I can't go into any more detail, unfortunately, in the time available of what sits underneath all these steps. But what I can say is it really, really works, and it really makes a difference to your results. So hopefully that is a bit of a taster of what you can do, and some things you may even be able to start thinking about in your store straight away. In terms of how you can implement this in your business, first thing I would say is do be open to it. Rarely have I come across a business where there isn't some opportunity for improvement. If needs be, get in and do the observation that I normally start with, see what is currently happening and establish what the size of the prize is. Articulate what the wow factor is. Just tell people what you want, because it may be that they just don't understand the level that you're expecting. And remember that evolution, this is all about evolution, not revolution. Baby steps really do add up to giant strides. You can actually literally make a difference by changing one tactic, and you can make that difference tomorrow. There are some other important underpinning factors. So teamwork is key. Tag teaming to juggle customers, having a floor manager to ensure that every customer has been seen and dealt with. And of course, management focus. Staff need to be able to be freed up to focus on customers. Managers need to be present to observe and to lead by example, and the rest of your management structures need to be aligned to this. One of the things people often ask me is, what might the size of the prize be? Well, as I said, the good news is you can really rapidly improve results with small changes, and it doesn't need to be perfect straight away. What I do is I start with a client. When I start with a client, I observe the sales funnel, observe the opportunities being missed. And the reason I do that is, often the perception may be different to the reality. So people might say, we just don't have enough customers coming through the door. Whereas what I might see when I observe the sales funnel is they've got plenty of customers coming through the door, but they're just not engaging enough of them. So it's important to understand which area you need to focus on. And what I've got next is an example of a sales funnel in a women's wear concession, what we observed to begin with, and how that differs versus best practice, versus what I know other top performing stores to be delivering on. So you can see that the sales funnel looks at how many people in our target market are walking past, then coming in, then being engaged by us, then getting into the fitting room, and then buying, and then what's the level of the actual sale. And what you can see here is, at each stage, in this example, there are opportunities to improve. And when you add those improvements up, the best performing stores are delivering an 8-fold increase on this particular store that we observed, that I worked with. Now, as I said earlier, I'm not saying that every store can achieve best practice on every level. Of course they can't. And sometimes you'll improve on one level and you might drop off on another level. You might be engaging more people and therefore you might not be able to get as many in the fitting room. But generally, the room for improvement is usually significant. And even if you only improved on 1 or 2 of these, and you only improved on 25, you only delivered 25% of the possible improvement you could deliver, the bottom line benefit is significant. So this it can be quite powerful. Obviously, you have to balance, what can I achieve with the resources I have? And most businesses end up aiming for something that is in the middle of what we've observed a best practice, because they have to obviously operate with the resources they have. But certainly, I regularly see businesses, doubling or more their sales and improving their customer service. So that brings me to the end of my presentation, and a bit of a whiz through. And thank you for your attention. Please do use what I've given you if it's at all helpful. I'm hoping that, it may have inspired you to think about any opportunities for improvement in your business. If anyone does need further help, my contact details are here. I go into businesses and work with them on improving their performance. The sales and service model is one of the key things I do, but I also work across other areas, such as looking at the product range, for example. And if you do want any help, an initial conversation is free, so do let me know. I've been lucky enough to have some really fabulous feedback from some of my clients, which I'm happy to share if needs be, and I've just put a recent piece of feedback here from Ulster Stores Group. But basically, all that really remains for me to say now is happy reopening, and many thanks for your time. Best of luck. Delighted to sort of see all the stores reopening again, and I think now we just have some time for questions, so I'm just going to hand over to Karen for the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Helen. That was really interesting.
You're welcome.
I've got questions here for you. I'm going to start from the top of my list. As a department store, it's not always possible to deliver the same level of one-to-one attention as a smaller store. So do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, and I think that is really important. And I think the first thing to say, is I wouldn't expect a department store to be delivering the same level of conversion rate to sale as an independent store. because they've got more people coming in. They're probably less likely to have enough sales staff to engage as many of those customers. So this is all about tailoring the model to you and your business and to your resources. But I have used this model with small stores and with bigger stores. And as I said, the key thing really is I've yet to find a store that can't make a material improvement. So that's really the message. It's about what can you do in your business. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing, but usually there is an opportunity to improve in your business.
Okay, thank you. How do you encourage less confident staff members who are worried about getting it wrong?
That's a really good question. I think it is all about the training approach and bringing people with you. So the approach that I've sort of just outlined is, I sort of initially let's start with common sense. Do we want to deliver good service? Well, there's very few people who say, no, we don't want to deliver good service. They might feel wary about having sales targets, but they definitely want to deliver good service. Get them to articulate what good service is. And obviously we're all customers, so we all know that. And then really talking them through what are the steps to deliver that. And what I find particularly powerful is when you get them to articulate what they should be doing and want to be doing, and then you show them the difference that you've observed, people really can't argue with that, and they buy into it. And the important thing then is to allow people a space where there's no blame, and I always ask for it to be without managers present, where we can role play and we can practice and we can make fools of ourselves. And the important thing is I'm the first one to make the fool of myself. I am the one to show it. And what I find is people do sometimes start like that, but if you follow that approach, they relax and their confidence builds. And this is all about building confidence. It's not about blaming and worrying if anything goes wrong.
Okay, thanks. And we did have a question on would you advise asking staff members to role play different roles? And I guess the answer is yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really powerful. You need to build into it, because most people go, ooh, but if you build into it in the right way and warm people up, and as I say, if I do the first role playing, people will normally get on board with it and find it useful.
Yeah, okay, great. Many retailers employ someone to meet and greet customers at the door. Would you recommend this?
I think for me, the meet and greeting is a key tool in engaging the customer and moving them down the sales and service model. So ideally, you want the person who's meeting and greeting to be able to then engage the customer, talk about whatever service the customer might be interested in, and even move them, for example, into the fitting room. So I would say that the model that tends to be more effective in terms of resulting in engagement is if that happens within the department, in a department store, within the specific department, or if that person is knowledgeable enough to take that initial cue and isn't just somebody who is a meter greeter. Okay,
great. And last question, could you give us some examples of retailers you think are getting it right?
Yeah, oh gosh, that is a good question. Yeah, I'm going to give you one that I personally was wowed by recently, which is the White Company. And obviously I say recently, when the stores were open. And I went in there and I literally went in as a browser. But I sort of had in the back of my head that it was my mum's birthday coming up, and I was kind of like, I went in, they greeted me, left me to sort of have a little browse. They were watching what I was doing. I sort of saw a handbag. I thought, oh, my mum like that. I was looking at it, came over, got it out for me, gave me some information on it. I was like, that's more than I kind of want to spend. So they found some alternatives for me. And then they sort of said, do you want me to hold on to it so you can have a look around for yourself? I started to look for myself. I was in no mind to buy anything. They saw me sort of just browsing at the jeans, said, oh, what sort of jeans do you wear? And I thought, oh, jeans are always a nightmare. I can never find the right one. Next thing you know, they found a pair of jeans. I'm in the fitting room. They're bringing me other things. I went in as a browser and I went out with a handbag for my mum, a pair of jeans and 2 tops. And importantly, I went out feeling wowed.
Right.
I went out feeling bad. I told loads of people about it, and it's the example I'm telling you about now.
Right.
That for me is what this is all about.
Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That was a really, really interesting session, and I think so appropriate as we've only got a few weeks to go before we get back to face-to-face retail. So thank you very much for joining us, Helen, and sharing your insights.
You're welcome.
We'll close the session now. Bye.
Bye.